What is going on? I'm Zmot. Again, dev build awesome sauce. For those of you who watched my Boom Pass sneak peek, you probably just couldn't divert your eyes from this bottom section down here where it said season 64 has started. Left that in somewhat intentionally. My apologies. Speaking of putting things in, please do consider throwing code ZMOT in your shop in all Supercell locations. We are going to jump in to Season 64, and as you know by the thumbnail of this video and by the title of this video, there is a new hero. I was very, very excited about this. They actually went, and what I'm most excited about is not the actual hero. The fact that they actually brought in, those of you who are long-time players know that these messages in the bottle talked about following yellow boys, and last season referenced that, and they brought in someone from the lore of Boom Beach. Boom Beach has all sorts of backstory, and the fact that they have embraced that, super excited. So this is the 2-engine room deck, and right here we have Captain Ruddero. Now, Captain Ruddero, however you want to say, is it A or B? Ruddero or Ruddero? Or something else? Do let me know in the comments down below. You'll notice that one of his abilities, this is a little bit awkward. I'll get into that in a second, but he is a new hero. He is a test new hero. One of the great things about warships is they put it in here, they can balance it, and then they bring it to the main game, the main island, whatever the heck you want to call it. So he is not, I can't go into my hero hut here, and there is no Captain Ruddero. So good and bad. Now, one thing to note, he is kind of awkward at the moment. He only really has one ability that is worthwhile, I think, and it is this one right here on the left-hand side. This one right here, man, my pen is not super duper thick. Let's add some C's to that word and get our up. So this one is great. Just to note that these things, they're called drones in the code, and they are essentially flying drones. We've already had flying bat critters. Sorry, just to go one step further, critters in the code are called drones, so these are essentially flying critters. Not critter bats, but flying critters. They do a little bit of damage. With rocket choppas, they will be great. They'll distract. These ones are kind of like explosive drones. They're kind of crappy, to be completely honest. And again, all of these abilities can be balanced at some point. So that was me shaking my hands, which brought up the undo thing. Anyways, notice over here on this right-hand side, we have level 0. That is a new thing that they basically are saying you don't have the first 2 abilities, which is kind of weird. We are going to get some tokens here. Too much talking, I know. So if we go into an attack right now, you'll notice that we just straight up can't select the Seekers. Kind of like that. And it says hero level 8 required, which is a little bit awkward because really he needs to be tick 2 or 3 as opposed to levels, and that's where the main base versus the warships thing kind of awkward. Notice that it goes from level 0 up to level 0, and then once we get Ruddero up to tick 3, all of a sudden we do have Seekers involved. Now, these Seekers, he only drops like one of them at a time. It's kind of useless. I'll show you that in a second here, but for right now, notice that it went from level 0 to level 0 to level 1. And if we do send him all the way to max, kind of again, a little bit awkward. This is only a test. The first 2 abilities go to level 6 and the Seekers go to level 5. So I'm not entirely sure what they have in mind there. But again, this is only version 1. They can tweak the dials, make him stronger, faster, better, make his abilities different levels. So neat details there. If we jump on in, typically, with your heroes, you can go back to the main base and get a little bit more information. We can't do that here because he's not on the main base. So if you have any questions about the health of these things, I don't know how much I'm allowed to tell you, how much is finalized, but these things are essentially big critters. I think they have like 400-ish health each. I'm not going to give full exact details because there are some details that I don't think I can talk about because they haven't been provided. So that data mining versus actual real live info from Nuno and the team. So I noticed that his health is 2980, pretty good. His speed is fast. His range is long. Damage per second, he shoots very, very quickly, 4 times a second, which is why his damage per second a little bit awkward, because notice that his time between shots doesn't actually add up. So they do neat, interesting things here. And the wingman, his spawns 2 of them and up to 6 wingmen. Interesting details. I'll show you, we'll get into it and actually show you some actual attacks here in a second. And then we will get in and walk you through this entire tech tree in its entirety. Not doing 2 videos. I know that might have been helpful, but just to avoid you guys going to a different video and trying to pad time and all that, we're going to keep this as short as we possibly can. So actually, you know what? In the benefit of that, we're going to start out with the tech tree. So, sorry, making this up as we go along. We start out with Rocket Choppas and Ruddero. So these gaps in the deck, not a big deal. We finally have our flying hero that people have been clamoring for. Lots and lots of offensive details there. Before the 3 engine rooms, like really, there's only cannons and then some extra cannons. So those of you who want to attack, you're probably not going to lose a heck of a lot of troops to the machine guns, which your Rocket Choppas can probably outrange for the most part, and the cannons. So if you just want to collect chests all season long, 2 engine rooms might be the answer for you, but we don't want to do that. We are going to go all the way through here, getting into that building damage. Scorchers will be very overpowered at this point, but they're way off the track, so we're going to skip those for the second. Also note that rocket launchers, both of them up in cul-de-sacs. You need to go up to come back down, so I do like that a lot. Lots and lots of neat, interesting things. Boom cannons also off the path. So offensive players that are going to rush forward and get heavy choppas, note that heavies are nowhere in sight. So scrolling way down here, heavies are way off the path. You have to go all the way up through brick to get heavies and artillery. That's going to be very interesting. As you saw last season, heavy choppas without heavies, not all that super duper useful. So keeping on moving forwards. Note that shock launchers are dead center in the middle of the tree. You're probably going to want to go up through shock launchers instead of through mechs is my assumption, but then you have to go through grenadiers. So maybe because of the limited number of defenses, you're going to get up through warriors. Very curious to hear how you guys think you're going to go up there. Warriors look like they could be very good, but again, every season, who the heck knows? Do we have flares? No, yes, we do have flares. Okay, sorry. I've made notes. I've just ignoring my own notes. Not super duper useful. Noting that that node right there is going to be a deal breaker. That right there, notice that we don't have rocket launchers. If we went up through mechs, we would not have shock launchers. And where the heck are critter launchers? Critter launchers are over there. So you need shock launchers, or you have to go down through the building health. So know that well in advance. Sorry, had a bit of a technical issue that I think I've masked somewhat well. Also note that I am not going to be responding to any comments, so please keep things clean. I am in the middle of nowhere with no internet connection except for satellite SOS. Little bit of a problem. My boots just arrived. They're the wrong size. Total failure on the warehouse's part. Critter launchers moving forwards. Now, do you go down into your likely old-fashioned hero, Dr. Kevy Kavan, or do you stick and go through medics because you'd only want to deal with one hero? Saving a couple keys going through medics might be an option depending on how Rudy is doing. Rudy Tooty. Shocks, big greatness there. Into where the heck do we go? Into flamethrowers. I probably should have been showing you guys the decking here. I have totally failed you on that. I will upload some screenshots somewhere. Sorry, trying to do this in a hurry. We had lots of time to get this sorted. Sorry, more technical issues, but life getting in the way. Summertime, camping, kids, hiking, 50-pound packs, yada, 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 yada. So, again, shock mines down here. Shock mines and... where the heck did I just see critters? Where are my good friend Seekers at? I saw Seekers. I didn't talk about Seekers. Seekers are back here after shock launchers, before shock mines. Might be a window for them. I will leave it up to you guys to talk. Do consider subscribing. I will have an early season tech guide coming once I get back to civilization. Had to add some more keys, the beauty of the dev build, and then into that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 engine room level. No 8 engine rooms, unfortunately. Very curious to hear what you guys' thoughts are on that. Was a test. I like that they're testing things. It is all good stuff. And then once again, we get to another one of those gates that we don't have all the stuff for. Bombardiers there. Laser Rangers somewhere hidden back in this tech tree that I can't see because I'm trying to find them. Right up there above barrage. Up there are bombardiers. So you need to get one of those 3 things to move forwards. We're going to get those bombardiers, which are next to all sorts of good bonuses. Every time my screen goes black, I am screaming at the wall. So we are going to get bombardiers. We are going to get into troop health and tanks. I love the fact that tanks are at the end where we don't have to get them. We can go down this way and make tanks and mortars. Look how far into the tree mortars are. We have never seen that. That's kind of neat. And then looky, remote hack, tiny shock, and remote defib. I wish remote defib would have been the perfection of the trifecta. If they would have thrown speed serum in there, that would have been the perfect threesome right there. Would have been very difficult to choose. Tiny shock probably wins. A remote hack secondary, remote defib secondary. Remote hack, just the cost of the GBE goes up so much, and we'd have to go back through here and see how much GBE. That is the beginnings of the tree. Lots and lots and lots of details for you. This is a 3-week season, which means we're back to that 15, 16, into 18, into 20, into 22, and then finally 25. So the thing that you've all been waiting for, Mr. Ruddero, Captain Rudy Tooty, fresh and fruity. We are going to start out using his third ability, I should say. We are going to use Seekers. They envision this more for the main base than for warships. I think it sucks and it needs to be balanced and he needs to drop more Seekers, but I'll show you what I'm talking about here. We're going to try and get an opponent and hopefully get one in a second or so. I will pause until we get to that point though. Okay, got a match, which I know because it's me. Now, one thing to be aware of, when you drop him on the shore like so, he is a little bit naked to start with, then those wingmen start popping out, and they pop out 2 at a time. He stays alive decently well, especially if you can get him out of the range of things. Notice that we can get him out of the range of cannons and out of machine guns, and he'll just kind of stay there on his own. Those drones / wingmen, whatever the heck you want to call them, will keep him alive decently, especially if we flare over here. As expected, he can fly over gaps, he can go underneath smoke, and then as he starts to approach the range of a cannon, he does have, I can't even tell if he has more range than the cannons because he ends up sitting back and those wingmen just stand in there. So in the event that you have a bunch of rocket choppas out there, he's going to stand out front, and notice that cannons just don't get a shot in. So that is where he's going to be fairly useful with rocket choppas especially. So if you're a rocket choppa player, he is going to be very useful. Notice that we can just park our rocket choppers back here. Don't have to worry about the cannon at all. Those wingmen standing in. If we use that seeker button, notice that we do get some seekers dropped. They do basically nothing of use. Yes, they're going to distract the cannons for a second, but they are already gone, and the GBE cost of those seekers is quite high. But on the plus side, it's kind of like dropping some free critters, because you're gonna keep your rocket choppers alive by dropping them potentially. It's if you don't have critters, or critter costs too much, maybe you'll drop those things. But overall, that ability gets a big, fat, giant, stalling. That's right. That is a giant, giant sad trombone, and I'm kind of okay with that. I mean, the fact is, this is season 1 of Ruddero, and hopefully that's not annoying you how I'm saying it, Ruddero. And so if he's underbalanced, that's fine. I'd almost rather him to be underbalanced than overbalanced. If they want to give him a buff, that would be great. Let's get into the second ability, though. And again, getting a match. When you're matching you against you, and matchmaking has to figure out that no one else is playing, it takes a heck of a long time. So we're going to switch troops. Again, not showing the ability on that bottom item bugs me, but that shouldn't matter all that much. We will send Ruddero in there. We are going to click that button, and notice, come on, where are the bombs at? Here we go. Out come the bombs. Takes him a second. He has to retarget, and then he runs in. He does this carpet bombing thing. I probably should know what it's actually called. They do a tiny bit of damage, and notice that he does have a shield while he's doing that. So he does not take a heck of a lot of damage when that's happening. We are now going to flare over into here. If we click that ability, then click on that back engine room, notice that he heads over there. He doesn't get that shield quite yet, and then as it comes out, he gets that shield. And I should know what the heck this is called. We're gonna look that up. I'm a little bit embarrassed that I've forgotten the name of it, but bottom line, again, keeping those rocket choppers alive, it will be useful. He'll dive on forwards. Notice that he's not doing a ton of damage to that engine room, so on his own, not that great, but as a support to keep rocket choppers alive, he will be very, very useful. How useful? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be overtaken by bullet or brick, but for the early season, he will be fun and make things interesting. There, we're going to click that button now, and notice that he's going to fly over top. His wingmen will take some damage. He still has that shield intact, and he gets back with full health through all of those cannons and machine guns. So decent ability on its own, not super duper useful, but with rocket choppers or other troops, it will be somewhat decent. I'm going to give that half a sad trombone. So this is where I've screwed up. This is called Seeker Shot. This one right here is called Bombing Run. It is definitely better than the Seeker Shot, but now we are going to get that Wingman Rush loaded. We're going to jump in, and we will do one more hit to show you what the heck the goodness is in the Wingman Rush. Now, one of the things that Brawl Stars figured out very early on was that when you bring something new in, make it overpowered. That way everyone wants it. In this season, I don't think Ruddero is going to fully dominate the season. He's not going to define the season, and that could be good or bad. Maybe you don't like him being overpowered and you just want him to be a little piece of the season. Regardless, that is what he's going to be at the moment in this season anyway. So Wingman Rush, we are going to get that in. I am going to click that button as soon as he gets up there. We're going to wait until he has all of his wingmen, because my general understanding is if you did it without, he's not going to have as much damage as he could. Now that he's got 6, we're going to click that button. They're going to rush up there. They're going to blast away at things. And again, the way that this is, in my mind, going to be useful, notice that they don't follow the flares. They just keep on going. And look at the cost of the GBE on these things. Not all that high. So these are kind of like flying critters. They do good things, and you can fill your map with these things all over the place. And they rush forwards, which is extra helpful at keeping your rocket choppas alive. So I assume this is going to be the primary ability that everyone is going to be using. A, it's cheap. B, it can get all sorts of damage. Notice that back there, they basically took down the engine room all on their own. And we can just keep pumping these things out. They will fly in front of your troops. They will keep your troops alive and all sorts of goodness. So Wingman Rush is where you want to be. That one is all of the goodness. And in order to get that up to level 6, you of course need to have the captain up to level 5. So I am going to end the video there. Definitely missed some things, trying to cram everything in. If you have comments, questions, answers, anything in between, first of all, throw code Zmot in your shop, then throw your comment on YouTube, and then wait a couple days because, again, I am in the middle of nowhere with no internet, no cell service, and a very, very heavy bag, both on my back and all of my kids' backs. So wish me luck, and I shall talk to you soon. Thank you for coming in. I'm Zmot. Peace.